that face? That's the same face that locked you inside. The same face that beat you. Now make him feel everything. Feel everything. Again, don't stop. Every Tuesday, every belt. Yes, destroy him. Destroy him. Now you're ready. Your husband won't know what hit him. Watch what happens.
So, you finally came back. Where were you? Prayer meeting? You think I'm a fool? Forgive me, honey. I'm very sorry. Ari, please. Baby, my wife. Let's talk like civilized people. We can discuss this like adults.
Civilized? I have not even started with you yet. You think this is the end? You are going to pay for 7 years. 7 years of brutality. 7 years of violence. And I will not stop until you feel every single day.
Please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The thing about Chief Ubong Essien was that he wasn't a chief at all. No traditional council had ever crowned him. No ancestors had whispered his name in sacred groves, or certainly no elder had deemed him worthy of leading anything beyond his own bloated ego. But at Mama Nkechi's beer parlor, that ramshackle wooden structure where dreams went to die and men told lies that grew taller with each bottle, Ubong wore his self-appointed title like a bronze medal from the Olympics of delusion. "I am telling you, men, a woman is like a car," he announced every Friday evening, his belly preceding him like a pregnancy announcement as he settled into his usual corner. "If you don't service her regularly with discipline, she will malfunction." The other men would laugh, not because it was funny, but because Ubong bought the first round and poverty has a way of making people laugh at anything. But it was Tuesday evening, 6:47 p.m. to be exact, when the real Chief Ubong revealed himself. The kind of man who checked his wristwatch, a fake Rolex that turned his wrist green, not to keep time, but to schedule terror. Because at exactly 7 p.m., he would walk through the door of the small 2-bedroom bungalow he shared with his wife Arit, and the performance would begin. Arit heard the gate creak, her entire body tense like a guitar string about to snap. She had graduated with second-class upper in business administration 7 years ago, back when she still had dreams that extended beyond surviving until sunrise. Now, those certificates gathered dust in a box under the bed, next to her dignity and the restraining order she'd been too afraid to file. The door swung open. Ubong stood there, silhouetted against the dying light, his belt already halfway out of his trouser loops before he'd even closed the door behind him. He sniffed the air like a predator catching scent. "Arit!" His voice could curdle fresh milk. "Arit, come here now!" She emerged from the kitchen, her hands still wet from washing dishes, her heart hammering against her ribcage like it was trying to escape the prison her body had become. "Yes, my husband." The performance was about to begin. Ubong didn't just walk into a room, he invaded it. His footsteps were deliberate, heavy, each one a countdown to detonation. He circled the small dining table where Arit had set his food 20 minutes earlier, examining the plates of jollof rice and fried chicken, like a health inspector who had already decided to shut down the restaurant. So, he picked up the fork, pressed it under the rice, watched it yield under pressure. "You want to kill me, Abby?" Arit's stomach dropped. "My husband, I don't understand." "Shut up!" The fork clattered against the plate. "Do I look like a madman to you? Do I look like someone who eats cold food? Cold food, Arit?" The rice was warm, they both knew it, but facts had no place in Ubong's courtroom where he was judge, jury and executioner, and the verdict was already written before the trial. He stood up slowly, and that's when Arit saw it. The ritual had begun. His hands moved to his waist, fingers walking the belt buckle with a practiced ease of a man who'd done this dance 1,000 times. The leather slid through the loops with a whisper that sounded like a scream in Arit's ears. Click. The front door lock. That sound, that tiny metallic click, was the sound of hope evacuating the room. Ubong pocketed the key and smiled. Not a happy smile, the kind of smile a cat gives a mouse when it realizes the game is over and the meal is about to begin. Now, he said, his voice dropping to something almost gentle, which was somehow more terrifying than the shouting. Let me teach you how to cook rice properly. The belt rose like a conductor's baton. The first strike never landed where you expected. Ubong had perfected the science of suffering. He aimed for the back, the shoulders, places clothes could hide, places that wouldn't raise questions at the market or church. He was a cartographer of pain, mapping territories of humiliation across his wife's body with methodical precision. Count them, he barked, the belt whistling through air. I want you to count. Arit had learned long ago that resistance only extended the session. Compliance was survival. 1, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of leather meeting flesh. Louder! Are you counting for ghosts? 1! Her scream satisfied him. That's what he wanted. The performance, the submission, the absolute erasure of her personhood into something that existed only to receive his anger. 15 minutes felt like 15 hours. When Ubong finally stopped, he wasn't even breathing hard. He was smiling, actually smiling, as he threaded his belt back through his trouser loops with the casual air of a man who just finished a productive workout. Now, he settled into his armchair, spreading his legs wide like he owned the entire universe. Heat the food properly and bring it to me. And Arit, he didn't even look at her crumpled form on the floor. Add more pepper. I want it hot. She crawled, actually crawled to the kitchen. Her university degree certificate might as well have been toilet paper. What good was education when your husband had reduced you to something that moved on hands and knees? At 11:30 p.m., after he'd eaten, criticized every grain of rice, demanded fresh zobo drink, sent her back to add more ginger, complained about the ginger, and finally declared himself satisfied, Ubong unlocked the door. You can sleep now, he announced magnanimously like he was granting presidential pardon. Tomorrow, I want yam porridge. Don't overcook the yam like last time. He fell asleep within minutes, snoring like a satisfied lion after a kill. Arit lay awake in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, her body screaming, her mind somewhere between prayer and planning, somewhere between hopelessness and something else, something she couldn't quite name yet, something that tasted dangerously like rage. One Sunday afternoon, Arit sat in the hot sun outside Elder Ime Akpan's compound, waiting. 3 kinsmen had finally agreed to hear her case after she had begged, pleaded, and prostrated until her knees were red with dust. These were the custodians of culture, the men who settled disputes, the supposed pillars of community wisdom. Elder Ime emerged first, his wrapper tied importantly around his waist, a walking stick he didn't need, clutched for dramatic effect. Behind him, Uncle Okon and Chief Ifyong, men whose own wives controlled their households with iron fists hidden in velvet wraps, but who performed patriarchy in public like Shakespeare actors who'd forgotten they were in a comedy. My daughter, we have heard your complaint, Elder Ime began, settling on a wooden bench under the mango tree like Solomon about to deliver judgment. His eyes were kind, which made what came next even more devastating. We have considered it seriously. Arit's heart lifted. Finally, someone would. You must endure. The words hit her like cold water. Uncle, but he beats me every marriage has challenges. Uncle Okon interrupted, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who'd never been punched in his own kitchen. Do you think marriage is a bed of roses? My own wife burned my soup last week. Did I complain to the elders? No. Chief Ifyong nodded sagely, as if comparing burnt soup to systemic violence was the height of philosophical reasoning. My daughter, what will people say? A woman who cannot manage her home, who broadcasts her private matters like radio announcement, is she worth being called a woman? Talk more of a wife. Elder Ime leaned forward, his voice dropping to what he probably thought was fatherly wisdom. You are an educated woman. Use your education. Cook better food. Speak more softly. Anticipate his needs before he expresses them. Learn to be more submissive and respectful to him. Do not provoke him to anger. A wise woman builds her home. A foolish one tears it down with her own hands. But Uncle, Arit's voice cracked. He locked me inside. He used his belt. I have marks. We do not want to see. All three men recoiled as if she'd offered to show them a corpse. That is private matter between husband and wife. Go home, pray, be patient, and make your marriage work. This is your cross to carry. They dismissed her like she was a child complaining about homework. She walked home slowly, something hardening inside her like cement setting.
The market was chaos. A symphony of haggling voices, crying babies, and the sizzling sound of akara frying in enormous pots. Arit moved through it like a ghost, buying tomatoes she didn't need, avoiding eye contact, her long-sleeved blouse hiding fresh bruises despite the scorching heat. Arit! The voice cut through the noise like a machete through sugarcane. Arit turned to see Mufon, her old university roommate, the one who'd stopped calling after Ubong had screamed at her through the phone that his wife didn't need bad influence friends. Mufon's smile died the moment she saw Arit's face. Jesus Christ! She grabbed Arit's arm, felt her flinch, and her eyes went dark with understanding. How long? Fon, I'm fine. Lies. Mufon practically dragged her between two stalls, away from prying ears. Look at you. You're swimming in that blouse in this heat. Arit, talk to me. The dam broke. 7 years of silence shattered in the space between mango sellers and fabric merchants. Arit told her everything. The belt, the locked door, the kinsmen, the hopelessness. She expected pity. What she got was fire. That bastard, that useless pot-bellied goat. And those elders, may their soup never have salt. Mfong grabbed both Arit's shoulders. Listen to me carefully, Arit. Tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., meet me at New Road Junction. Don't tell anyone. Don't ask questions. Just come. But Ubong will tell him you are going to evening prayer meeting in Winners Chapel. Men like him love when women are busy with church. Mfon's eyes burned with intensity. Arit, I'm begging you, one chance. Give me one chance to show you something. That night, Ubong demanded to know why Arit seemed too happy while serving dinner. She invented a lie about the pastor's encouraging sermon on submission. He grunted, satisfied, and proceeded to complain that the chicken wasn't fried crispy enough. But for the first time in 7 years, as she refried the chicken at 10 p.m., Arit wasn't thinking about survival. She was thinking about 6 p.m. tomorrow. She was thinking about New Road Junction. She was thinking about possibility. The building looked ordinary. A faded yellow structure with Sister Eddie Diong's Fitness Center painted in bold red letters, but the sounds coming from inside were anything but ordinary. Sharp exhales, bodies hitting mats, the distinctive snap of kicks cutting through air. Arit hesitated at the door.
Mfo, I don't think. The door burst open. A woman stood there, tall, muscular, with tribal marks on her cheeks and eyes that had seen things. Sister Edidiong didn't introduce herself. She simply looked Arit up and down like a mechanic assessing a broken-down car. Long sleeves in this heat, she said flatly. Let me guess. Upper arms, shoulders, back? Arit's throat closed. Sister Edidiong's expression softened microscopically. Come inside. The training room was full of women. Market sellers, bankers, students, a nurse still in her uniform. All ages, all sizes, all with that same haunted look Arit saw in her mirror every morning. This is not aerobics class, Sister Edidiong announced, her voice commanding absolute attention. I don't teach you to lose weight or look sexy for men. I teach you to break men who put their hands on you. She paused. But first, show me how he hits you. What? Your husband. Show me his favorite move. Arit demonstrated. The way Ubong grabbed her shoulder, spun her around, the backhand that always came first before the belt. Sister Edidiong moved like lightning. In one fluid motion, she caught the imaginary hand, twisted, and suddenly, Arit was watching the instructor demonstrate how that same grab could result in a dislocated shoulder, a man on his knees, begging. Every attack has a counter. Every monster has a weakness. Your husband thinks he's a lion? She smiled, a smile that would have terrified Ubong. We're going to turn you into a hunter. The first class was brutal. Arit could barely throw a punch. Her body had forgotten it could fight back. But 3 months later, when Sister Edidiong strapped a punching bag with Ubong's photo taped on it, and when she played recordings of his voice screaming, "Woman, where's my food?" and Arit's fists connected with that bag with accumulated fury, something awakened, something ancient, something hungry for justice. 3 months of secret training had transformed Arit's body into something Ubong couldn't recognize beneath the oversized dresses she still wore. Muscles carved themselves into her arms, her core became steel wrapped in flesh, and her reflexes, once dulled by fear, now operated on instinct sharper than broken glass. But the real transformation was internal. Tuesday evening, 6:15 p.m. Ubon had been fired from his job that morning, caught sleeping at his desk for the 4th time, his supervisor's patience finally exhausted. But he hadn't told Arit. Instead, he'd spent the afternoon at Mama Nkechi's parlor, drinking away his shame, letting rage ferment in his belly alongside the cheap gin. He stumbled through the gate at 6:43 p.m., 17 minutes early. Arit wasn't home. His phone read, "Evening prayer meeting, back by 7:30. Your food is in the warmer. Your wife." Prayer meeting? Prayer meeting on a Tuesday? She knew Tuesdays were his nights. She knew 7 p.m. was when he required her presence, her submission, her fear. Ubong's hands trembled, not from alcohol, but from volcanic fury building pressure behind his eyes. He paced the small living room like a caged animal, his imagination running wild. Was she with another man? Was she laughing at him somewhere? Had she finally grown the audacity to disobey? When Arit walked through the door at 7:35 p.m., her gym bag hidden at Mfon's house, her body loose and powerful from training, she found Ubong standing in the center of the room with his belt already coiled in his fist like a serpent ready to strike. "You." His voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. "Where were you?" "Prayer meeting, my husband. I sent you a memo, sir." "Liar!" He lunged forward, grabbed her arm, but something was different. Her arm didn't yield. It was solid, hard, like iron wrapped in skin. Confusion flickered across his face for exactly half a second. Then his fist rose, then his belt swung, then Arit did something she hadn't done in 7 years. She didn't close her eyes. She didn't pray for it to end quickly. She didn't count the strikes. Instead, she moved. The belt cut through air where Arit's head had been half a second earlier. Ubong blinked, confused. She dodged. Her wife, her punching bag, her footstool had actually moved out of the way. "Stand still," he roared, swinging again. Arit's hand shot up, muscle memory from 3 months of Sister Edidiong screaming, "Catch, twist, break," and her fingers closed around the leather mid-swing like a cobra striking. The belt stopped. Just stopped, suspended in air, trembling between them. Ubong's brain struggled to process what his eyes were seeing. He yanked the belt backward, expecting her to release it, expecting submission. Instead, Arit yanked back. The belt ripped from his grip so violently he stumbled forward, and that's when she moved. A spinning kick Sister Edidiong made her practice 10,000 times, her heel connecting with his chest like a sound like a thunder. Ubong flew backward, crashed into his precious plasma television. Glass exploded, sparks flew, the screen went black, and something else in his mind, the fundamental understanding of his place in the universe. "What?" he gasped, but Arit was already advancing. 7 years of accumulated rage poured out of her like floodwater from a broken dam. A punch to his jaw that made his teeth rattle. An elbow strike Sister Edidiong called the husband's lullaby that split his lip. When he tried to run to the door he always locked, his trembling fingers couldn't work the key. "Open it!" he screamed at the lock, at God, at reality itself. "Oh, now you want the door open." Arit's voice was ice dipped in acid. "Now you want to leave. Interesting." He spun around, raising his fist, those same fists that had terrorized her for 2,556 days. They looked pathetic now, slow, predictable, like a drunk man trying to swat a mosquito. Arit slapped his punch aside and drove her knee into his beer-swelling stomach. Air exploded from his lungs. He folded like bad origami. "Please," Ubong wheezed, collapsing to his knees. "Please, baby, my wife, I'm sorry." "Sorry?" Arit picked up his belt from the floor. The tables hadn't just turned, they'd detonated. The belt felt different in Arit's hands, heavier, like it carried the weight of every strike she'd endured, every tear she'd swallowed, every scream she'd silenced. Ubong looked up at her from his knees, and for the first time in 7 years, she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Terror. Pure, undiluted, pants-wetting terror. "Arit, please, let's talk like civilized people." His voice cracked, climbing octaves into regions he didn't know he possessed. "Civilized?" She folded the belt exactly the way he always did, snapped it once. The crack made him flinch so violently he nearly fell over. "What's wrong, Chief Ubong?" Arit circled him slowly, predator and prey roles so completely reversed that the universe itself seemed to be laughing. "I thought this was tradition. I thought this was how we maintain order." He tried crawling towards the door. She planted her foot on his back, not crushing, just present, just a reminder of who held the power now. Through the walls, neighbor Essien's television stayed at normal volume because the screams coming from this house tonight weren't female. They were male, high-pitched, pathetic, and nobody knew the script for this show. "I'm sorry," Ubong sobbed, actual tears streaming down his face, mixing with blood from his split lip. "I'll change. I'll be better. Just stop." Arit leaned down, her voice soft as silk and sharp as razors. "Count them." "What?" I said, "Count them. Or are you counting for ghosts?" She raised the belt. "1," he screamed before it even landed. 15 minutes, the exact duration of his typical sessions. Arit stopped. Not because he'd suffered enough. He hadn't. 7 years of torture couldn't be balanced in 15 minutes. She stopped because she realized something profound. She didn't want to become him. She dropped the belt, walked to the door, unlocked it, swung it wide open. "Now," she said calmly, "go make me food to eat." Morning came with Ubong looking like he'd fought a combined army of angry masquerades and lost spectacularly. His face resembled an overripe Udara fruit, purple, swollen, and frankly, unmarketable. At the beer parlor, his friends took one look and fell into confused silence. "Ubong, what happened to your face?" Mama Nkechi asked, genuine concern mixed with barely suppressed laughter. I fell down the stairs." "But your house is a bungalow," Mr. Mbas said. Ubong's face tightened, but he refused to reply him. 3 weeks of terror followed. Ubong jumped when Arit entered rooms. He washed dishes without being asked. He actually said please and thank you like a properly raised human being. The transformation was so complete that his own mother noticed, which is how the kinsmen's emergency meeting happened. Under that same mango tree, Elder Eme, Uncle Okon, and Chief Efyong sat with expressions of grave concern. Obong sat apart, looking like a prisoner awaiting execution. When Arit arrived, wearing a pantsuit that screamed, "I have discovered self-respect and it fits perfectly," Obong literally flinched. Elder Eme cleared his throat importantly. "My daughter, we have disturbing reports. You have been beating your husband. This is abomination. In our culture," Arit's laughter cut through his speech like Sister Edidion's spinning kick through Ubong's television. "Uncle Ime, do you remember what you told me 8 months ago when I came here with bruises?" Silence. "You said endure. You said a wise woman doesn't broadcast family matters. And we decided to settle ours internally between husband and wife among ourselves without getting you elders involved in our family matter." She leaned forward. "So tell me, wise elders, how is that a crime? How is it an abomination when the woman defends herself, but culture when he was making me a punching bag?" The elders' mouths opened and closed like suffocating fish. "I filed for divorce, started my own business, and Ubong," she turned to her trembling husband, "you're free to go. Nobody is keeping you prisoner." 2 months later, neighbors reported seeing Ubong sneaking out at midnight with a single bag, looking over his shoulder like a thief, finally experiencing the fear he served for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 years. Arit? She was teaching self-defense classes, running a successful catering business, and laughing, really laughing, for the first time in forever. Remember, don't endure abuse. Defend yourself. But if you can't, look for the nearest Sister Edidion close to you and enroll in her fitness class. You never can tell who will be laughing last. But don't wait for a next time before you take action. Subscribe to Folktales by FP for more stories that entertain, educate, and empower. Warning: don't endure domestic violence for whatsoever reason. The first strike might be called a mistake or the devil's work, but the next one is an intentional attack. So run as fast as your legs can carry you, because most people did not live to tell the third story. Say no to domestic violence and gender-based violence and oppression. Now, answer this. If you were those kinsmen and Arit asked you that question, what would you have told her? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's laugh together.